This is the Book Legion Podcast, where we review thought-provoking books to give our Legionnaires the knowledge they need to dominate the next level of their life.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining me on the Book Legion. This is your host, Tyzer Evans. This week we'll be reviewing the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So if you guys aren't familiar with Mr. Tolle, I don't know where you've been. He put out The Power of Now in 1997. Mr. Eckhart Tolle is German-born but currently resides in Canada. He's probably one of the world's foremost spiritual gurus, leaders, whatever you want to call it, up there with Deepak Chopra. He's been on Oprah. He's been written in every magazine across the world. He's got a really interesting story. He basically was someone that obviously grew up in Germany, became part of the corporate culture, decided that wasn't for him, and like many other actually spiritual gurus, at about the age 29, took off on a journey of enlightenment, which lasted about 7 years, and then came back and kind of continued to do his research and teachings and started to develop his own philosophy around spirituality, and just what we're going to be talking about, The Power of Now. So this was the first big book to put him on the map. He's written several other books within his series. The other one that comes to mind is A New Earth, which I have and have read as well. But today we're going to be talking about my 3 big takeaways from The Power of Now, which I've read several times, so stay tuned. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys is about on page 65, which is all problems are illusion of the mind. And this is a reoccurring theme you can find out throughout the book. He talks a lot about what is illusion, what is ego, what is consciousness, what is unconsciousness. And so the first thing he really wants to start to talk about on page 65 is having you understand that all problems are simply that. They're just illusions. Now, what we perceive as problems, he talks about, they're just situations to be dealt with. And what we tend to do is fixate on problems in the past, or we start to manifest problems in the future which have not happened. Where Eckhart really takes you is that when you are fully present in the moment, right? The power of now. This is what the whole book is on. It's about how do you become fully present in your life every moment that you're living? Because that is all that there is, right? The past has happened. The future has not happened yet. So why spend time in either one of those when you just need to be here, living life? And so he says when you're fully present in the moment, all you're doing is you're simply dealing with situations to the best of your ability. And what he furthermore talks about is that the mind likes to give you problems or perceives problems because it's a way for you to start to have an identity. This is what the ego really wants to do, is to have you be fixated on your identity, right? You're this color, or you're from this religion, or you're from this part of the world, or you identify as a Republican or as a Democrat, or someone who's not spiritual or as an atheist, right? So there's all these different types of labels that we place on ourselves as opposed to just being conscious beings. And so this is a really important part of the ego, is to have you start to have identities. And so once you start to conform your identities around your problems, you get stuck into this unconscious modality of always being at war with ego. And ego is a complete distraction from the present moment. So page 65 was a huge takeaway of, all your problems are really just an illusion. I always like to replace the word problem with challenge. And if you look at it, it's just a challenge in the present moment that you need to overcome. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is on page 142, which is conscious death. So this is something that, it's hard to really for most people to wrap their mind around. But really, he talks about death being an illusion. So we talked about, problems are illusion. He talks about death being an illusion. And I think that the way most people, the way we've been conditioned by society and our different types of religions, is to think that you are, a human having a human experience. Where I like to see it as you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And I think that this is where Eckhart starts to come from. Once you start to grip that you're an eternal being at your core, right? And you're just simply having an experience here as an animal in your human spacesuit, meat body, whatever you want to call it. I call it a meat suit. You start to rip away this fear of death. And when you start to rip away this fear of death, and you can move into the present moment without always being fearful of something bad going to happen, always that fight or flight type mentality, you start to free yourself. Once you realize that once you leave your body, you just are on to the next experience. At least that's just how I like to look at it, and I think that Eckhart does as well. That death really is an illusion. So it's very freeing and liberating, realizing that, hey, I'm just here having an experience. death is not painful. Death is not the end. Death may just be beginning, right? The beginning and the end, right? Of the ending of this experience, but the beginning of a new one. And so he really starts to break this away and talks a lot about death because it's something that we all think that we can escape, but it is inevitable. It is going to happen. There's not a single person who has not died that has ever been born. So it's something you have to come to terms with. And once you realize it is going to happen, I think it incentivizes you to realize that, you should start living today. And there's a great quote that, you're born twice. Once when you're born, and the second time is when you realize why you were born. And I think a part of this is living in the present moment and having that spiritual experience as a human being to the best of your ability every day in the full present moment. So the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is on page 180, which is the end of your life drama. So we tend to make drama, especially as a collective mass of people. That's why we tend to fight, to have wars, you have civil unrest, you have people that have conflict, which we've seen here in the States, unfortunately has probably peaked at an all-time high. Because again, the drama helps us to give us some type of identity or some sense of false reality and purpose while we're here on this planet. But what happens when you get wrapped up into drama is you start to have energy blocks. You start to have restriction of energy, and we are just energy at our core, right? Energy is really what we are. And energy can't be created nor destroyed. So at our core essence, we are just conscious beings, but most of us are living an unconscious experience because we're so wrapped up into our five senses reality, the things that we gravitate towards. We're so involved in our life drama of the poor me, the victimhood, and then we have this collective drama. And when you're coming from this place of, again, a fearful mentality, not realizing you're just a human being having a spiritual experience here, you become unconscious. When you're unconscious, you're in a state of fear. You're letting ego dictate how you live your life. And so once you start to become conscious, you live in the present moment and you realize that the drama doesn't matter, right? The drama is just a distraction from you living to your highest potential and understanding that you have these situations you have to deal with in the present moment. They're going to help you with your growth. So overall, it's a very deep book. It's one that there's I think 7 or 8 chapters, but in every chapter, there's about 10 sub chapters that are about 2 to 3 pages. So take your time. The book is deep. It's heavy. If you're someone who doesn't have a sound spiritual practice, it's really probably going to shake your foundation a bit, which is good, right? It's good to be challenged. It's good to have some mental exercise, but I think it gives you a different and beautiful way to live your life consciously by being in the now. And that's the whole premise of the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So if you're interested, go check it out. It's one of those books, it's on such a big mass publication. I think you can pick it up for 7 or 8 books. It's about 230 pages, but it's a very easy read. It'll probably take you 4 or 5 days to sit down. I know we've got holidays coming up, so be a good one to sit down over the holidays and knock it out with a warm blanket by the fire and some tea or a glass of wine or whatnot. So check it out. Link will be in the bio to buy the book. And if you guys haven't done so, please subscribe to the Book Legion, the podcast. And if you could, drop me a 5-star review on iTunes. It makes it easier for other people to be able to find awesome books that I cover. And if you're new to the Book Legion, I drop review a book once a week, usually on a core pillar of your life to help you elevate, whether it's your spirituality, your wealth, your fitness, your sales skills, leadership, one of those things. But thank you so much. I'll let you guys get to it. Go read The Power of Now.